Hey. Oh. What's dying? Oh, yeah. I don't fuck with you guys. Y'all are mean to me. Oh, that's... I wonder what I could do with ruin fragments. I'm pissed. If anyone fucks with me, they're gonna have a bad time. Oh yeah, I'm so big, strong, tough, long, and hard. Oh? Even on under level, exploring places is still fun, bro. Oh, I remember this place. Yes, I got rock slime. Oh. Hey, I'm actually somewhat on level with that. You lying nigger, stop lying, nigger.
Kidnap people and then seemingly not do anything with them doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, that doesn't explain the lifeboat thing. People are still so questioning over this whole story that there was one theory that a historian did in the 20s where he said that perhaps because Captain Briggs was religious, he decided to become a fanatic and murdered everyone, threw them overboard before committing suicide and somehow not leaving any trace of this. I should also mention that historian apologized to the family after he did it. He said, yeah, that made me a little... And that's coming from the guy who's about to say the Kraken did it. Two of the more popular theories was that it was either a water spout or a seaquake. In other words, like a small tornado on the ocean or an earthquake, because that may cause enough turbulence and enough water being thrown around that the ship may begin to sink. However, if it was something like a water spout that was big enough that could threaten the ship, there would have been, for one, a lot more water in the bottom of the ship, and also everything would have been as packed as it was. And the same thing can be said about the seaquake. If it was an earthquake that this seasoned captain and his entire seasoned crew thought was at risk of drowning them all, then why was everything in such a perfect condition? Also, the whole lifeboat thing doesn't make sense for either of those. Like, sure, that may make sense for why they were in such a hurry and everyone piled into one and cut the ropes, but if you're in a tornado and like, as a seasoned captain, you're not going to be like, quick, everyone get onto the much smaller boat in the middle of the ocean. Don't get your stuff, there's no time. One theory that I think holds more weight than most of them is that of the explosion. See, denatured alcohol or ethanol has a problem with producing vapors that have a tendency to blow up. And in the captain's log that I mentioned earlier, he had mentioned throughout the trip that they just heard random explosions coming from beneath the deck, because I guess that's just a thing that happens. So perhaps one day there was a rather large explosion, and that may explain why both of the lower deck doors were open whenever the two board, implying that they were trying to air out the bottom cargo hold. And in 2005, the Channel 5 broadcasting station actually recreated this theory, and it turns out that even if there's a very large vapor explosion and a very large fireball, it wouldn't destroy the interior. That was the issue everyone had with the explosion theory, because whenever they walked into the bottom deck, everything was fine, and you could probably tell if it, blew up. But these vapor explosions are just a quick fireball, and there's no lag.
Oh, millennials.
However, as I mentioned, the captain had logged in his book that this had been happening over the course of the entire journey. And again, none of these guys were rookies. So I can't imagine a scenario in which a slightly bigger one of these fireballs go off, and they're all like, we should paddle into open ocean just to be safe. So that still leads into the mystery of what happened to Mary Celeste. And I think I've been respectful and reverent enough of the dead that I can now say it was the Kraken. The Kraken definitely did it. I didn't mention this detail earlier because it was too dumb at the time, but one of the notes that the Attorney General said in his entire case is at the front of the ship there were several scratch marks. These weren't like enough to puncture into the boat or anything, but they were enough to be noticeable. The Attorney General's theory was that after the crew got drunk and murdered the entire family, they swam around to the front of the ship and cut it in order to make people think that it ran aground in the middle of the ocean. However, that's lame. Wouldn't it be a lot cooler if a Kraken swam up there and it was lashed onto the front, and that's why the scratch marks are there? And then while everyone's on deck, it just starts grabbing people with these giant tentacles, and then a couple people try to get away by hopping on a lifeboat and cutting it real quick, or they too get sucked underwater, or float out to sea and die of the elements, whichever's worse. And you know the best part about that theory is, you can't tell me I'm wrong, because cameras didn't exist yet, and neither did I. So we're moving on. I think one of the reasons that the Mary Celeste is such a well-known story, and so infamous too among people like me who are absolutely terrified of the ocean, is because it kind of embodies a lot of the things that make me afraid of it in the first place. It is absolutely unexplainable, and your imagination is pretty much the deciding factor in whatever could have happened to these people. Because just like with the ocean itself, if we're taking a scenario that is so beyond our mind, anything that we know or understand, then our deepest fears might as well be the truth. And if you're thinking, well, that was in the 1800s, and people just used to die back then, which, to be fair, people did just up and die for no reason back
Jeez,
then.
those things are fast.
Attention to the Cause 2. Caves. I'm going to call it Cause, whatever. Now, the Cause 2 was admittedly shorter than the Mary Celeste, boasting a 32-foot span. However, it was still a yacht-class vessel and definitely capable of sailing in the ocean. On April 15th, in 2007...
Oh, fuck, I'm getting close to redawning. I can feel it.
...expedition aboard the Cause 2. They set out from...
Yeah, no, they were not joking when they said, Elden Ring just has a shit ton more fuck. What the fuck? Oh, yeah, Sleepy Dragon hated
That was until on April 18th, a helicopter spotted the boat.
Elden Ring has so many more fucking,
on it. After some reports and investigations, eventually on April 20th, the boat was found and
rest
about
spots
88 miles
than the other Souls games.
Australia. And similar to the Mary Celeste, whenever they got onto the boat, the entire crew was missing. Now, notably, the situation aboard the Cause 2 was noticeably more unnerving. There was food laid out on plates along with silverware, implying that everyone was just about to set up to eat. The laptop was open and still on, implying that someone had just
found her.
Even the engine was running.
I did
Everything
not find
pointed
her.
towards the
I'm a
idea
slow
of
guy.
everyone simply just hiding as if the boat was being used a few moments ago. Furthermore, all the life jackets were still hung up and none of them being used. The GPS was still working, along with all the stress functions that the boat had, although none of them had been activated. Even more so, on the front of the boat, the small life raft as well as the anchor were still tied up and not being used, meaning that it seemed no one tried to stop the boat or make it escape. The one thing that was amiss on the boat is that one of the sails were very badly shredded, as if something had cut through them and torn them until they were useless. The police were able to use the GPS that was on the boat in order to backtrack the path that the cause took. And then on the GPS path, you can see the boat go out from port on the
Oh
first
my
day of
god,
their journey,
Torrent, please.
slow down all at once, and then just start drifting.
I'm about to, you're gonna make me cry,
As if the
Torrent.
boat was just sailing out, and then for some reason, the engine went into neutral, and those three guys just disappeared off the face of the earth. Besides from the sail, the only one thing that, doesn't really count
we're
as
shaking.
this was the fact that the lure from the fishing pole was hooked
Torrent can
into
double
one of
jump.
the side
That's
ropes
awesome.
off the side of the ship, which also paints another picture of what was happening when this all went down. They were out fishing. There was a pair of sunglasses found sitting on one of the front chairs on the boat, and there was a coffee mug on the back deck just sitting on the table. Again, the whole picture implies that everyone was about to eat, they were out fishing, they were bathing in the sun, and then just disappeared. Now, unlike the Mary Celeste, this is a modern investigation, so there had to be a modern proceeding of how this all went out, because three people can't just disappear and then the government not do anything about it. So at the final investigation, where they went into the whole story of what probably happened, the coroner's report, which it sounds weird for a coroner to give a report with no bodies, but I digress. In the coroner's report for what he proposes might have happened, it sounds like a slapstick comedy. Like, his story was that one of the guys got his hook stuck on that rope on the side that I mentioned earlier, and when he bends down to pick it up, he just falls in the water, which the second guy says, "Don't worry, buddy, I'll come get you," and he jumps off the boat, but he forgot to turn the engine off, so the third guy puts the engine in neutral, and then he undoes the sail, but the sail swings all the way around the boat and smacks him and throws him off the side. So his idea was, in the span of 30 seconds, all three of them were so incompetent that they managed to, like, three-stooge their way into the ocean. But as far as official reports go, that's all that we got. But despite that, as well as large-scale searches along the coast of Australia, no evidence of it was ever found. And what's so shocking about this in particular is, you imagine that someone who's taken every precaution between GPS and radio equipment and all of that would not have the capability to go missing in the world. However, that's exactly what happened. And this is a much more recent occurrence, and the families of those who were lost are still alive, so I'm not going to make a joke that it was a crack, so I'm just going to move on. And you may be...
Experience a spotless clean in the smallest spaces.
All?
Illuminate invisible debris with a lightweight and powerful Dyson machine. Pioneering Dyson technology.
Oh
Find
shit.
the right
Hey,
vacuum for your home.
Oh my God, you know who you are? First grade. Cheers. Fraser. Yeah.
Dr. Fraser Crane.
Maybe listening to all this and thinking, well, that sounds pretty creepy. I guess I'll just stay on land where I'm safe. See, that's how the ocean gets you. And to prove that there is no safety from the most disturbing thing of the entire planet, look no further than the Flannan Isles lighthouse mystery. Off the west coast of Scotland, there is a series of small islands known as the Flannan Isles, one of the largest being that of the Elaine Island. In 1899, a very large lighthouse was built on Elaine Island as a way of signaling sailors who were coming into port. Our mystery begins on December 7th, after the new relief comes in order to stock the island with its new set of wickies. I love that one. See, there were 4 workers who worked at the Elaine Lighthouse year-round, and they worked in 2-week shifts. In other words, there's always 3 people on the island, and every 6 weeks someone gets to take a break, and it rotates like that. So on December 7th, they make their trade. The relief comes to stay on the lighthouse as the guy who's taking a break is able to go back to shore. So the 3 men within the lighthouse should not come into contact with anyone else in 2 weeks. However, something weird was noted on December 7th. Whenever a boat that was coming to shore did not see the light from the lighthouse, which is, again, a bad thing. See, lighthouses have to be on all the time, but even if it's a perfectly clear night, a ship coming in may not see the island and may hit it, which again is a bad thing. So for the lighthouse not be shining, either those
You
guys are
bad boy.
or something is wrong. On December 20th, which would have been the tried to go out to the island. However, there was an uncharacteristically thick fog at the time, and they weren't able to go until the 26th. As a matter of fact, on December 7th, whenever those three were placed on the island in the first place, there was a mention of a fog beginning to settle in the area. And again, at the 20th, it was so bad that they couldn't even make their way to the island. Whenever the relief boat finally got to the island, they came to the east dock and for one saw that there were several boxes and supplies sitting on the dock that hadn't been brought up to the lighthouse yet. Furthermore, there was no one to greet them and no signal that a ship was coming in. See, lighthouses are always supposed to be on the watch and there's always someone looking for ships to come off the coast. So if a ship's coming towards you, you're supposed to raise a specific kind of flag in order to indicate it, although that hasn't happened. The relief vessel, thinking this is weird, shoots a flare into the air and sounds the whistle, but no one comes out to greet them. So they decide to send a small search party to shore to see what they can run into, and this is the site that they find. The fenced-in gate to the front of the lighthouse entrance was closed, as well as the front door of the lighthouse itself. Furthermore, inside the lighthouse itself, every other door was also closed. All of the beds were unmade, and food had been set out as if someone, again, was in the middle of eating and just going about their day. Now, there's also a mention here that all of the clocks were stopped, and while I really wish that was a super creepy thing, as if there's some weird time glitch happening here, the way clocks worked back then is you had to wind them up, so that just means no one wound them up in a while. I know, we were really close to, like, time ghost stories, but don't worry, I'll try to make it fun. And among the belongings of the three men who were staying at the lighthouse, one of their coats was still present. See, this is on the ocean in northern Scotland in December. There was no way anyone was stepping outside, much less doing work outside, without wearing their coat. So the fact that one of the coats was still hung up next to the door implies that someone didn't have intention to go outside when whatever this was happened. So the entire relief party does...
Yeah, I want to watch Sharknado. By my power, oh, whoa, it's clear to me. My spirit grows. Yeah, we're not. God. That was close. Anyways, I'm not gay, so... Oh my God, please don't have me mess up.